So this thing is stuck on white noise, according to the person who just dropped it off. I didn't realize it was on. All this is scrambled, right? Okay. So what we're going to do, yeah, it shouldn't be like that. I'm going to take it apart and diagnose this, see what's going on with it. There's a series of screws everywhere. I'm going to take these screws here off the front, and I believe those are all Allen screws. And then you have screws on the side, and I don't think none of the stuff on the back matters. So I'm going to take these screws off front, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so this is a 2.5 metric, 2.5 metric wrench. That's what this thing fits. I'm going to tighten them. I'm going to loosen them all up, and then get to the Phillips side. Some of these may be too big for it. Yep, the corner sides are. And it doesn't fit that for some reason. I'll try the 3. It's like this in between. What I had for American didn't fit, and what I have for this doesn't fit. I'm about to use pliers. Okay, so we got the last 2 screws. Eventually we probably will have to take all the Phillips screws out of this, because if it is a part that I have to change, then we will have to take and physically remove them. So this is the first time I've worked on this model. I've worked on one in the past that the screen was all gobbled up. Alright, now let's see why we have white noise output. I think I have to take and lift this up now. It's hitting this connector here. There. Strange. Just come on up. Put this off to the side. It's kind of a odd connector here to have. Check this out. So you barely have, this is binding. You got a connector here. I mean, if you're gonna do it, have two standoffs here, and that won't be having an issue. Now right off the bat, I don't have to tell you, I already know, I can see, and I haven't showed it to you yet, what the problem is, and I know I'm going to have to take this circuit board off in order to fix this. So if you notice all these capacitors, we have the larger ones here on the right side. Now, this is an older model than the one that I worked on before. And there's two power capacitors here. Filters out something for the display. Obviously, these two smaller capacitors do the same for the output of your sound. Now, with that being said, look at these capacitors here. I'm going to zoom in. And you see how they have a peak to them. This one's got a peak to it. This one right here. This one's flat. So this capacitor here is bad. That one's bad. You can see what I'm at. That one's bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This capacitor here is bad. It's peaked up. And the rest of these are, this one's close to it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me zoom out. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 capacitors that are bad. Generally working with sound equipment and stuff like that, capacitors are your number one culprit. So let's look at the blue ones first, and I'll give you the value. It is 1000 microfarads, 16 volt. And I'm going to look at the smaller ones, and they are 22 microfarad, 25 volts. Okay. In the previous video that I released from, it says the Dorma ED400, if you follow my videos, you will know that I just changed this capacitor out with this brand. So that Yageo. Look what's inside this right here. This is a Yageo. Okay? That's a Yageo. Here's another one. That's a Yageo. So when you're using components, you want to make sure you have the best components for this. And whether you're working on industrial equipment like this Dorma ED400 or just DBX professional products, if you're working with Chinese manufacturing, you need to make sure you use quality capacitors in your products. And I can't make that any more prominent of a, you need to make sure that is what you do, because you're going to have failures like this. You're going to have mass failures. So, I mean, it's kind of random that I got this in this past Friday, and this is what the problem was with that door controller. And it has the same brand as the capacitors in this and one I just got now on a Sunday. So quality brand name capacitors is what you need to have. Otherwise your stuff is going to fail. And people are going to think your products suck. So, I'm going to order all these capacitors, and once they get ordered, I'm going to change them out. We'll plug it in, and then we're going to look at all these bars over here, and it should not be all fluttery like they were before. Okay? Stay tuned. This thing is just peppered with this Yageo brand. So, I don't know. I guess what you can do is take and recap the whole thing. I mean, that'd be 100% assurance that you're going to have quality capacitors in the audio system like this. So that's what I would do. I would just recap everything. That's just insane. 10 microfarads, 50 volt. This one is 22 microfarads, 50 volts. 22 microfarad, 25 volt. So if you get a bunch of 50 volts, that's going to fit the same thing as 25 volt. Who cares? Ay, ay, ay. Terrible. And so this is the 1000 microfarad. I believe this is 1000 microfarad, 35 volt. So we got a 50 volt that work, and then go higher for this. Go 25 volt, and that'll work. Terrible. So we got the shipment in from DigiKey. I ordered all the capacitors from this board. And next what we need to do is just get the board out. I gotta take this screw here out. I have to take all the screws out on the back here. And then take the screws out that's holding the board down. Here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws here, it looks like. And I'm gonna have to take and get these wires up. This is glued here. It's like if I take, it's just like crappy silicone glue. Doesn't look like it's gonna hold it too well down, and it doesn't. I can just rock that back and forth and lift it straight up, and it comes off. This part here, I think if you shove the black part gently forward, it will slide, and it does. There, just like that, back and forth. Do not break that. If you break it, you're not going to be able to fix your board. It's going to suck. There's 2 connectors over here to the side here. Same silicone goop. I think I might be able to take and just... Yep, I'm going to have to take and do the same like with the cutters and see what I can cut off. That's all I'm doing. Just breaking the seal of the silicone, and it'll come right up. Just remember, right connector is red, white, and blue. The left connector is blue, white, and blue. You don't want to get those mixed up. I mean, they do make it so you can't, but people will try to defeat that purpose. There's a wire tie here that holds that. Those 2 wire harnesses down. I cut that, and I'm moving that off to the side. We got all the cables disconnected. Now let's get the screws. I'm gonna get this screw here. There's 2 of them. I'm just gonna move this up just a hair so I can get in here and not knock the camera all around. If you can turn a screwdriver, you can turn a screw. Okay, so that is disconnected from this. And it can actually be moved, but I'm not going to move it. I'm going to leave it still connected over to the left hand. I just needed it to be loose so I can get this connector here off like that. These are shorter screws for the circuit board. Now I'm not going to go and do a great detail of showing how each capacitor is changed and all that. I might do a time-lapse video of me changing all the parts, but I doubt it. I don't think that'd be too interesting of a video if somebody sit there and change all the parts. Could be wrong. Now, all the circuit board screws, I believe, are removed. Now to get all the screws off the back. And these are even tinier little metal screws. Cheap metal screws, it looks like. Don't ask me what thread size these are. I don't know. I do not have a schematic for this. Don't ask me for a schematic. I do not work for the company. I work for myself. If you have a problem with it, you're going to have to just use your technician brain and figure it out. If you have a problem with this channel, well, look in this circuitry here and see what's going on. Probably going to be bad capacitors. If it doesn't fix your problem, it's just a suggestion. A lot of people get butt hurt when I put videos up there and they can't fix their stuff because something was not 100% accurate. This is not a fix-all for every problem that they have with white noise. It could be a circuitry problem. I don't know. This is the second one I've worked on for this brand. So far, I've been 2 for 2 for bad capacitors. So what does that tell you? And this is the older model of the two. Chances are, they're still going to have bad capacitors in the future. And it looks like the circuit board is loose. And we have it open. I'm going to move this off to the side. Just like that. Now let's flip it over. Nice. Okay. So, like I said, all of these filter capacitors are going to be changed. I'm going to zoom in on a capacitor and kind of show you when I say it's bad. That way, when you look at it, you will kind of have a visual representation of what it looks like. That capacitor is flat. See how that one's not? It's got a peak. If I had something flat, I could show you. This is flat. And this is not. Same way with these over here. These have a peak. Generally, When they vent up like that, that means they're bad. These are flat. But they're still that cheap brand, and I'm going to replace them. All of these capacitors here are all the cheap brand. Even these little short stubby ones. Going to replace them. I'm not worried about these green ones. Just these electrolytics. Okay. So, we're going to do the unveil. Here's all the capacitors. And this is what I got. Panasonic, 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 Panasonic. In quantities of 2, 2, 10, 20. And Nichion, because I didn't have that value in Panasonic. There's 2 Panasonics right there. And the value is 5 and 3 quantity. So Nichion and Panasonic are the two brands that I like, that I trust. This is what they look like. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I got the first 2 capacitors changed out. Now they only do like 40 more fun times. So I just got out all of the 10 microfarad 50 volt capacitors. And now I'm going to go back through and clean up each of the holes. And then I'll get to these capacitors here. And then I'll do these next. And then I'll do these next. And then we'll reassemble everything and power it up. I just switched over and used the solder braid, the toothpick method I've been using for all my other videos. This is a different type of toothpick. This is made out of bamboo. It's complete garbage. So, good old trusty 10-year-old solder braid. Did the trick. Now, if I calculated this right and looked at it right, I should have 10 capacitors. Let me take that back. I should have 1 capacitor extra. So the white line on the circuit board is the negative. So I'm going to take and put the negative side, which is not marked. For some reason they don't do that anymore, apparently. But if you look at the shorter leg here, that's your negative, and this is going to be your positive. They do that same way with LEDs. All LEDs are the same way that way now. So just to show you a different capacitor, they would have that negative mark here and shorter lead. So now I'm going to populate all of these here, the capacitors. I'm not too concerned about the flux. I mean, you can take and use flux remover after you solder everything, or electronic cleaner. Rubbing alcohol would work the same way. You know, if I'm working on a circuit itself, like a chip, if I was replacing a chip, like one of these chips, analog chips or anything like this, the processor, then yeah, I would be concerned about the flux, but not too much with capacitors. And this is just pretty much going to be a boring video to me if I was watching this. It may not be a boring video to you. Some people actually get a kick out of watching electronic repair, which if you do, great. I have close to 700 other videos, not all pertaining to electronic repair, but a lot of it is. If you want to click that subscribe button and join the crowd and watching me fix stuff, really appreciate it. My goal is to take and help as many people as I can fix their own stuff. If you need your board replaced, not replaced, but repaired, then I will leave an email in the video here. I'm not going to put it in the description thing, but I'll leave my email so you can email me and we can talk about pricing and getting this fixed. I'm guessing about 75 bucks is what it's going to cost, plus shipping. Just to start out. So here's a piece of that bamboo that broke off. I'm trying to get it out of the hole. I may have to poke it through this side. Anyway, so now I have a sea of blue capacitors, and I'm going to resolder all those. And I have one left over. So 19 of this is 10 microfarad, 50 volt. And the same amount of capacitors. Let's get to soldering. Alright, so that's done. Now I gotta cut all those leads off and then move on to the next capacitor. And there is, appears to be only 3 different more values to change. Actually, apparently I had 2 left over. So I gotta make sure that I soldered every capacitor that's in there. I may have skipped over one. If you're just now getting into electronic repair, these little legs, the leads, come handy when you need to take and make a trace. Say a trace is burnt, and you're gonna make a new trace. So save those if you can. Put them in a pill bottle or something. You never know when they're gonna become useful for you in the future. And always have a sharp pair of wire cutters. These things have been through a lot of abuse over the years. I probably have had these for the last 15 years, and I don't know how many capacitors have changed, and I don't know how many capacitor leads I've cut. There's a lot of videos I have. The majority of the problem with televisions are with capacitors. It happens. Nowadays, your televisions are mostly LED strips that are failing. And I got over that hump of all the capacitors failing, because they were dealing, for a while, they were dealing with counterfeit capacitors. So that's always something, right? Counterfeit parts. Okay, so I hope I have all the capacitors installed for that value. I did miss one. It's one right here. So I'm going to put him in. I can tell. Good. It's always good to make sure you double check your work too. You could easily find something that you missed. You never know. You don't want to take and put this all back together, then find out you screwed something else up and cause a lot more problems than what you really had originally. So these two pads over here. I knew I was only supposed to have one capacitor extra. I didn't think I was supposed to have two. I knew that was something off. This is going to be a long repair video. Okay, so that's going right there. Okay, just like that, we got that taken care of. Now, the bag I'm randomly grabbing, 47, nope, 100 microfarad, 16 volts, and these are the three right here. I'm not saying that they were bad, I'm just saying that they're the crappy brand, and I'm changing them either way. So that's that. I'm gonna take and reheat up, just add more solder to this is what I'm gonna do. Just get a little bit more easier to manage. There's 3 capacitors. Here's a solder wick. Probably applying a little too much more pressure than necessary. But, and this board flex is a little bit exaggerated because it's a longer board and it's a thinner circuit board than usual. Not your typical thickness. So I'm not applying that much pressure, but I am. I really hate the cut tape. It always sticks to things. There's that cap. That cap, and the last one for this value. Sometimes I like bending the legs a little bit, stretch them out, just so they don't fall back out. I'll flip them over like this. Next capacitors, I probably will not be eating anything. I'll just do a time lapse. This kind of gives you a sense of what happens when somebody does its electronic repair, which is it all entails. At least I hope you can see what we do. You can get into electronic repair if you're in high school. Just join your local vocational school. A lot of times they do have electronic repair. You can make pretty good money doing it. Not going to be rich. You can make pretty good money doing this. Alright, so 22 microfarad. Nope, I already did those. 47 microfarad. There's actually one value here that I don't have, that I missed. The 22 microfarad. I thought he was a 47. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Here's 22 microfarad. Now, did I plan this right? 22 microfarad, 25 volts. And this one is a 50 volt. Okay, so I don't have this one capacitor with me. Should be fine. At least I know. Kind of sucked because I wanted to get all the capacitors out. I know the main reason this thing was failing was because of these output capacitors here and your power capacitor. So this one small one here is not really going to make a difference. But anyway, these here are 47 microfarad, 25 volt. Which is this one. Typically, I would take and buy the larger voltage instead of just stopping at the 25. I should have just went to the 50. Typically, that's what I do. I double it. I don't know what I was thinking. Alright, so these four here I'm going to change out. I'm going to leave this guy alone. Oh, got those done. I wanted to see if this electrical cleaner would take flux off. There is quite a bit of flux on the bottom of this board. I don't think it would mess anything, but I also don't think I need to leave it either. I want to sit here and scrub it down with any rubbing alcohol. I don't have anything on hand. Alright. So the only capacitor left I haven't changed other than this one here, 50 volt, is these four capacitors here. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I order the right amount? I got 10. There we go. So I'm down to the last very smidget of the solder braid that I have. And I'm trying to make sure that I get it all sucked up. Because I don't think the bamboo trick is going to do it good. Hopefully. I don't run out of solder braid before I get to the end here. not going to be good in my favor. And always heat the pad up, stick the lead of the capacitor through, make it work that way if I needed to. And about 2 inches left. Wow, that was close. Now that I can put all the capacitors in here, these are 22 microfarad, 25 volt, all Panasonic. And I'll get these all put in and then I'll solder them. And then we'll spray it down with some electrical cleaner, get rid of some of the crap, and plug it all in. Now we are cutting the last pins off. Solder braid can be bought off of DigiKey or Amazon. I got all these capacitors off of DigiKey. They were cheaper than Amazon. By no means am I sponsored by DigiKey. I just cheaper parts, better quality than Amazon. And I got it here pretty quick. So, $5 US priority mail. If it only took like 3 days to get here, great. Can't beat that. You want to make sure you cut all of your legs off, because if you don't, and that's a metal base that they have underneath here, you're going to short something out and it can go boom. You don't want to go boom. So make sure everything here is nice and cut. Okay? And there you have it. It repopulated all the capacitor minus the one. And that's what it looks like. Amazing amount of work to do. But it's gonna work. And that's all that matters. So let's get this all cleaned up. I noticed there's some rust here going on, but we'll get it all cleaned up. All the flux off, put back together, and when you see it next, I'll be turning it on. Now we get to put this back in its home. And make sure you put it in the right way. Okay, so should fit pretty flush with the thing in the back. The two in the back here have clips, and you can't see what I'm pointing at. These guys here, they have little metal clips, and you have to kind of dip it down and make it go back up like that. Now this thing here came off when I was changing the caps. And then this goes like that. And I may put the switch something upside down. There we go. It fits like this. Okay, well, get in your hole. There we go. Okay, so screw all the things down, reconnect the cables, put the outside case back on, we'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to put the ribbon cable back in. And we're going to make sure that gets properly sat down. I'm going to put this guy back in. Make sure he gets properly put back in. Find my little screwdriver. Here goes the very bottom, flat. They can make this board any more difficult to put in. Might be better to try it this way. Yeah, I had to do it from the bottom, didn't I? That's a tricky one. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I had all my screws put down. I may put just the side screws. Actually, I may not even do any of that. I'm just going to drop the panel down on top of it. I did want to note that when you replace these capacitors here, the square pad, since they are not indicated plus and minus, the square pads on these capacitors on this side here are the positive side of the capacitors. I did want to note that so you don't get that screwed up. And it can happen. You don't want to have capacitors blow up in your face. Trust me. I've had plenty of experience doing that. Now, I'll get the lid case, put over it. I don't really care for the design of it, I guess you would say. There we go. Nice and flush. And power switches over here. I don't remember if this is supposed to be up and down for power. I think it's supposed to be up for off and down for on. We will find out shortly if that's the case. And we will find out together if anything blows up. I'm near my drink to not knock it all over if something does short out. Okay. No sparks, so that's good. I am going to turn it on, and if we hear sparks, I know I put something in backwards. Now, the white noise thing over here is all gone, which is good. And there you go. We fixed it. Good job. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.